Hi, this is Stephane Panier. I'm co-founder and CEO of Banter. And I have with me Matty Staudt, who is professor of multimedia communication at the Academy of Arts University in San Francisco, and a former producer and host on CBS Radio.
Yes, that's
Thank
me.
you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, as always.
So this is the third chapter of a 5 or 6 part series about how to do interviews. And the topic of this one is what to do before. What is the preparation?
Well, I think that it can't be understated that preparation is the key to a great interview. The more prepared you are and the more content that you have prepared for an interview, the better the interview is going to go. And there's a lot of ways to go on about prepping for an interview. Most people will do the most basic thing, which is Google the person's name and see what comes up. Do basic research like that. But be careful, because a lot of that stuff, I've been screwed on a couple interviews where I asked them a question that came from IMDb or Wikipedia, and they looked at me and said, "You got that from Wikipedia." I know, because that's wrong. And you're just like, oh. So you need to be careful about that. One of the things I like to do, and I think a lot of people do this even when they're interviewing or being interviewed for a job or something, is to go on the LinkedIn. Usually that information is pretty solid. So you can get some good background information on somebody on LinkedIn. I also like to check what people tweeted, and if they have a public Facebook profile, what they've posted in the past week or two, because that gives you some information to go on. You know, that'll give you something that is something that maybe that's top of mind, something that they've talked about in the recent past.
How do you avoid bringing up topics that have been discussed over and over again?
Oh, that's a good question. One of the things I really like to do before an interview is read or listen or watch interviews that the person has done. I do this for a couple reasons. One, to make sure I'm not beating a dead horse on a question. If you watch when people are doing those movie interviews where there are two guys in a chair and then there's somebody asking them questions about the movie, they always ask the same questions because they're honest. You know, nobody's original. They come up with the same questions. All the folks interviewing. Right. You know, what I like to do is, I'll read it. If I read an interview and somebody gave an answer to a question that was amazing, like they had an amazing story, I'll ask that same question, because the chances are that my audience has not read the interview that I found. I've done that several times, and I've asked the question in a different way to get the same story, so that it doesn't sound like I'm regurgitating a question. But you get some really good stuff that way. You know, there's a lot of, I always think that, there's always people smarter than me and better than me at what I do. So I like to see what they do. And if they do something good, it's flattery to copy. After you're doing, and you get the basic facts, do a little bit more, find out what they like to talk about. I use an example all the time of Tom Cruise. When I've interviewed Tom Cruise, I know Tom Cruise likes motorcycles. He's really into motorcycles, and it's pretty easy to find out what motorcycle he's riding or he's into right now. The first time we interviewed him, that was the first question. Asked him about his motorcycle. Immediately disarmed, nice, loved it. Was just he's a nice guy anyway, like over nice, like super nice. But the next time we interviewed him, he totally remembered us. He remembered the motorcycle question. It made him very happy. So, that's always a good way to start out. Ask people about the things that they're interested in.
That makes a lot of sense. It's the icebreaker.
It's an icebreaker. The other thing is to keep in mind before you start, if they're promoting something. Usually when you have somebody on, they're going to be promoting something. So it's good for you to go ahead and do that at the beginning of the interview. Promote the product that they're there to endorse, or if they've got a movie, or if they've got a book or a website they want to talk about. Do that at the very beginning so that they know that you're going to promote it, and then they can just do an interview and not have to worry about plugging stuff. It's always awful to hear an interview where at the end of the interview you hear the person being interviewed trying to cram plugs into the end. Don't forget to go to my Facebook. Do that stuff for the person. Don't put them out there to do it. It makes it easier on them.
So you typically do that in the beginning, so you remove the stress, but do you do it again at the end? Or?
Yes. Always the beginning, always at the end. You always want to bookend with promotions. And then the final thing that I do is I take the questions that I have and put them in an order that is, from the ones I know are home run questions, and then work my way down. Because, as we've talked about, I think in some other banters, that a good interview is a conversation, and you're probably not going to get to, if you're doing it right, you're not going to get to all your questions. You're going to get to maybe 3 or 4, and then the conversation just kind of spins off from those. That's the way you should prepare. But just make sure that in those first few questions, you get the juicy ones that you really want answers to. And then if you're doing questions that are, fact-based, and, if you're doing an interview that is practical, you want to get somebody's knowledge on a particular topic, then, then you'll probably get a little more into the question answer kind of thing. But even then, you should still try to make it sound like a conversation.
Okay. Anything else? Anything we've left?
I don't think that's anything. That's a basic, intro into getting started. But the biggest thing is to know your subject before you go into it. Know something about them. Don't be surprised to find out something that you should know. It's always, when if you ask a question that when the person answers it, they're kind of shocked you don't know that answer already. You don't want that to happen.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, I think we set up nicely for the next banter, which is about how to conduct the interview. So we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, Matty.
Thanks.
See you soon. Bye-bye.